this is the last regular meeting of this, such as it is tonight, council. And thank, in her absence, Councillor Curlew for all her contributions, and in his presence, Councillor Forbes for your presence over 4 years and contributions to the municipality. And I look forward to meeting with the new council, inaugural meeting December the 11th. So we do have 2 delegations tonight, and we have some things on the agenda. For the people on the delegation, we'll go through a few regular items first, and then we'll get to you quite, I would say, in, 10 minutes or so. So we'll call the meeting to order at 5:30 p.m., Mr. Clerk, on the GPS-controlled watch here. That one's fast. The old one was slow. Introduction of amendments to the agenda.
Through you, Mayor Lawrence, there are a couple of amendments to the agenda. The first one being respecting item number 7.1, adoption of official plan and zoning bylaw. There is some additional wording required for that motion. A white piece of paper was circulated with the specific wording that needs to be added, namely that council, in accordance with section 22 of the Planning Act, will permit applications for official plan amendments, and further that council, in accordance with section 34 of the Planning Act, will permit applications for zoning bylaw amendments, and further that council, in accordance with section 45 of the Planning Act, will permit applications for minor variances. Additionally, item number 14, closed session. There's actually now 2 items for discussion, the first being 9th, 5th Avenue South, and the second being other properties of interest to the municipality.
Thank you. May I have a motion to confirm the agenda as amended? Councillor Southall, seconded by, I promise, Councillor Forbes. I get his name out there as Councillor Forbes. All in favor? Carried. Declarations of pecuniary interest.
Through you, Mayor Lawrence, I have none.
Adoption of minutes. Motion to adopt the minutes of the October 10th and November 1st special council meetings and the October 17th regular council meeting. May I have a mover, please? Councillor Forbes, seconded by Councillor Bath. Any discussion? All in favor? Carried. Determination of items requiring separate discussion. So turning to page 2, item 7.1, final official plan and zoning bylaw. We lifted. Thank you. Councillor Bath. Vesting of property. Item 7.2. Vesting of property. Item 7.3. Resolutions to be submitted to KDMA for the annual KDMA meeting. Apparently the clerk is telling me we must lift this, so I'll make a note that that's lifted. 2019 budget timetable.
Yep.
That's it, right? Sorry? All right, we'll... I have motions lifted 7.1, 7.4, and 7.5. Adoption of items not requiring separate discussion, items 7.2 and 7.3. I have a mover to adopt those items. Councillor Southall, seconded by Councillor Fenelon. All in favor? Carried. We'll now move to item 8, delegations, and we're going to unceremoniously flip the order under instruction from the CIO for, and I think the delegates are aware of that. We'll do Keith Lukes, the Municipal Energy Plan presentation. So welcome to the Municipal Council table, and the floor is yours.
Okay. Thank you. Thanks for having me here. We had hired a consumption, it's roughly 2/3 to 3/4 of households that probably have some form of electric heat. This is just a typical Northwestern Ontario power distribution. Most of your power comes out from Dryden, and you have a 115 kV line at this point in time. And this is what Sioux Lookout would love to be on, is natural gas, but natural gas at this point in time stops basically on the Trans-Canada Highway. Now, when we looked at some of the IESO forecast for the next little while, they're projecting over the next few years that you're going to have to increase electrical usage. This is the west of Thunder Bay plan. We're looking to increase to 330 megawatts in 2020. And the high forecast is 550. Now, they're planning some upgrades to the Dryden transmission station, and it looks like they're going to have some work done by late 2018. And I guess at this point in time, you have Wadley Power Transmission, the RFQs out, and you got the application to Ontario Energy Board. So when you look at the different types of power that's used to generate electricity, your biggest one is water. You've got biomass capacity, and that's basically in Thunder Bay and Atikokan. And then you've got a fair bit of solar. You got 38 megawatts. Has anyone seen the station in Dryden? They have a big solar farm.
It's off Mersham Road.
And that's actually owned by Europeans, part ownership by Europeans. So it's kind of interesting that way.
It was a foreign direct.
So, getting down to look at pricing. If we got propane, typically it's somewhere between equivalent electricity pricing, 11 to 12 cents a kilowatt hour. When I looked at my last electricity bill, I was paying roughly about 12 cents a kilowatt hour at this point in time with the reductions. And oil, you're looking at somewhere about $1.10 a liter. You're getting about 13 cents kilowatt hour. And if you happen to have natural gas, it's probably 40 cents a meter cube. You're looking at about 5 cents a kilowatt hour. So it is quite a bit cheaper than the other forms of energy. And last year, I think I paid 29 cents a kilowatt hour toward the end of summer. So that's how much electricity prices have dropped in the last little while. So just in the period of a year and a half we've been working on this, it's actually changed around a fair bit. Now, we looked at the possibility of bringing in natural gas to Sioux Lookout, and based on pricing that we saw, it's roughly going to be about $100 million, give or take. Typically what they do, they give you a price of basically, you're looking at a price per kilometer, and they're looking at $1 million to $1.5 million a kilometer. And that's their rough rule of thumb right now at this point in time. So it wasn't really cost effective without having a bigger drop, like having interest rate. It does generate more greenhouse gas. And I guess I thought on the radio discussions with Bob Null, trying to figure out how they could get some more better structures in place that maybe natural gas would become a possibility for Sioux Lookout. But again, that's, I think, a long ways off. Think Vicki, you've got a good thought on that?
He wants to talk to me about it. He spoke in the House about Sioux Lookout the other day.
Right.
And he did speak to the mayor and Michelle and I, just briefly on he has a plan from natural gas, but we're not ready to get that yet. And I understand with terminology to be reviewed by the government before they can release it.
Yeah, this was on our local radio station back in September. And he's pushing no matter where Canadians live, unless they're way out in the bush, that community is the largest Sioux Lookout should have natural gas pipelines put in. And he's looking to change the infrastructure program. But that comes down to politics, and I'm not sure how that's going to proceed.
They're going to be rolling out some
school with a VP of Union Gas for the distribution. He felt that Siluca was way down the list. I think it was 67, is
We're
it?
69.
69, so. Okay, now that I've disrupted my slide presentation, let's go back. I'm not used to this computer. Okay, there we go. So right now, if somehow we get electric costs at 5 cents, we'd be competitive with natural gas. Now, you do have, right now you get electric transmission lines in place. Now, if the greenhouse gas taxes come into place, if you got the carbon taxes, if that goes in place, it may not. Over a 25-year cycle, it might end up being more equivalent to 8 cents a kilowatt hour. Now, the interesting thing about electricity rates is 8 cents is typically where heavy industry, they actually get their pricing, right? It's 8 cents a kilowatt hour. And Manitoba typically has 8 cents a kilowatt hour. Now, we produce in the north about 2 or 3 cents a kilowatt hour. So, the US has some places where they have electricity rates just for heat. There may be a way of talking to the politicians about trying to push that concept. If you don't have natural gas, maybe you can have preferential rates, especially if they're making it at 3 cents a kilowatt hour in this area. So that's something that'll be a long-term discussion, and maybe a discussion with Red River somewhere down the road. But if you can't get natural gas, why not go after lower electricity rates?
Just hit an arrow down.
Arrow down?
Yeah.
Okay. Now that I've,
Over.
over, here we go. Okay, working with a team, in the next couple of years, the immediate goals are to work on the biomass demonstration project with the Public Works, develop electricity supply plan to accommodate potential expansion of airport and industrial park areas on an incremental basis. We got evaluation of possibility of solar. Solar down in California is as low as 3 cents a kilowatt hour, but they've got a lot more sunshine. And, but it's still, it's usually about a 7-year payback with solar. And again, investigating rate structure with an LDC with goal of reducing overall costs. And that comes down to, if they can lower it to 12 cents, why can't they give the north, who doesn't have natural gas, 8 cents? They're still making money at it in this area. And then look at optimizing energy usage through incentives and participation in the following programs. When we first wrote this, there were a lot more programs available. And as of June 2018, a lot of the programs got cut back. But you still got the Save on Energy, you still got some of the energy plans. And the other thing is develop some key measure performance indicators to report on the performance of the municipal energy plan. And we had some goals in place, I think, in the report that talk about, as I bounce around here. But there are some specific goals of reducing electricity costs, reducing overall energy per capita, reducing energy consumption in municipal facilities. Right now, I think 40% of your electrical energy is in your water and sewer system. So as you go to upgrade, you can go to more energy efficient pumping systems. And pursuing natural gas, LNG, CNG, and pipeline. So your short-term goals are reevaluate immediate goals, continue to implement forced energy sources and biomass, plans to support mining and northern operations with energy and other resources. And number 4, evaluate feasibility of other forms of energy such as LNG, CNG, and biomass. right now, you've got CNG going, I guess, North Shore Superior. You've got some LNG companies that have been talking both to Sioux Lookout and a couple of mining companies. So some of that stuff in the next 6 months to a year, the problem is their size such, they're too big for Sioux Lookout, so they need some other anchors to make this happen. CNG, you're looking at about 3 to 4 hours transportation distance. LNG, you're looking at 8 to 10 hours. And then it starts gassing off. So LNG is better for longer distances. And that's coming up. In fact, I was just talking to one of the LNG suppliers who's actually going up to Red Lake, and they're going to be up there for 6 weeks as they shut down the Red Lake pipeline and do some work on it. They're going to supply the natural gas for Red Lake. But they're saying they've now got smaller systems coming out that you can tap on the pipeline and basically go ahead and they'll send it. LNG is about half the price, double the price of natural gas. And CNG is about 2/3 the price of propane. So those are the other options, right? You got natural gas, that's about 1/3 to 1/4 the price of propane. And you got LNG is roughly half the price of propane. So you'd be looking at LNG, it'd be almost a $5 million investment for a compression plant. And then you'd have to have infrastructure in the town with someone like Union Gas. Again, that's based on some pricing up at Red Lake, it'd be $3 to $5 million, right? If you wanted to go that sort of direction. And I guess the other short-term goal is keep aware of the latest energy trends such as distributed generation, solar energy, fuel cells, and battery storage.
Will you take questions now? Yeah, Councillor Southall?
When you're talking about bringing in gas, would that be to a site and like would it be rail and offloading and then distributing or?
Typically, they like to bring it by truck because the wheel is too long.
Okay.
And the pressure builds up after so many hours where you've got to release it. So if you can keep it with LNG 8 to 10 hours from the source, then you put it in your tank and then you have a constant draw off on it. As long as you have a constant draw, someone using like hot water systems or maybe someone uses heat in the summer, you don't have to gas off. So you'd have a centralized tank and you'd have someone coming and filling it. For instance, if the price was cheap enough, you could locate on the Trans-Canada Highway in Denoric and bring it up by truck. And go ahead.
Then you would need an in-town distribution system, though. Yeah.
There's a certain cost to that. Basically, when Goldcore did their system and they built it throughout Goldcore and did the conversion, it was roughly $3 or $4 million at that point in time. So either that or you get a partner, someone like Union Gas or someone that would be willing to take that on that would handle that.
Yeah, Union Gas is who's referred CNG distributors to us.
Okay, and long-term goals, investigate a cogen plant, either biomass or natural gas at an off-site facility. So that's happening more and more. We just put in a small cogen actually at the Dryden High School. It's using natural gas, right? And you can do it with biomass. It depends on what's going on. So they're using natural gas to generate heat and electricity. And it's about a 4 or 5 year payback. They're using it for backup power as well. Now they have looked at biomass generation actually at Weyerhaeuser, and they used an organic Rankine cycle, about a 4 megawatt system they looked at. But they didn't have enough biomass, so they weren't willing to commit to it. So it comes down to if you have the biomass supply, you can do it. Hear that. So these are long-term things. I think you're seeing the trend that Ontario Hydro wants to get more and more of these systems so they don't have to keep the transmission lines updated or the generating stations so they can reduce it. And that's why they've given all these programs right up there.
We have the biomass pre-feasibility study for the Lac School Forest is
came up at one point in time what we would need to do to have more capacity in the
But
area.
they don't know that there is no capacity.
Right.
So that needs to be addressed this evening,
For-
and before you talk about electrical upgrades, if you could.
Sure, and I guess the question is, they wanted some additional power possibly at the airport and in different areas. And we looked at what would have to be done to the system to get more power in place.
So what he's saying is we have a commercial industrial development that was done many years ago. And in that development area, it is located near the airports. And we have now done two studies that is expanding, a transload project and a commercial industrial expansion project, Crown Land, which again is east of Sulacau, east towards the airport. What has been determined in this process is we are at capacity. We have no more power available through hydroelectric. And therefore, there's an imbalance that we need to address, because if I can attract as much industry as you want to the community, but there is no electrical power and there's no natural gas, so we can't even get into the cogeneration discussions. So, we've been doing a whole lot of projects parallel, but I want to just mark this as an urgent matter that needs to be addressed as soon as possible.
And if
And
somehow,
he's gonna give you some recommendations.
for sure, and as well, if you took some of the heating load off, that's current electrical, you'd have more power available for these things. That's what Goldcore did. They went ahead and converted electrical over to natural gas, and they gained an extra 5 megawatt for their internal use. So these things are available. And then if you got any large industrial customers coming on board in excess of 5 to 8 megawatts, they may want to be direct connected anyways. And typically, if you go much beyond that, I talked to Hydro One, you'd have to upgrade the transformer system that you got currently in the Sulacau area, and you probably have to upgrade your plant as well. So you're up to about 27 megawatts, and then you'd have to do some of those upgrades.
Got a couple of questions. Councillor Fenelon and Councillor Bath, Councillor Southall.
So what you're saying is that there's a 110 kVA line that comes in through Stanley,
Right.
and it's at capacity now?
Well, it is close to capacity. You're seeing 17 megawatts, and because of the configuration, and I think I have, sorry, that's on another slide, but we have maps of where they're going, basically a loop that comes around, and one of the choke points is the submarine cable. It's at about half its usable life, half to 2/3 of its usable life. If you upgraded that and put larger cable in place, you could get an extra 5 megawatts to most of the town.
Where does the submarine cable run from and to?
Basically, I want to call it river, but not by the Anchorage there.
Councillor Southall, go ahead, then Councillor Bath.
Yeah, your item 2 on there, that's, I guess that's the one that interests me most, it's tying into the Watay Power. Back when Watay Power was first envisioned, I drew maps and carried maps and chatted with the people and met with them and brought the line closer and closer to Sioux Lookout with the thought that we would get a substation. Well, we know a substation's expensive. And the problem now I'm seeing is that there's a lot of angst against bringing in the line this side. They want to go up the up 599 because it's better for the caribou. So we're not going to cut through the Lac Seul forest. And this is an MNR is very concerned about this. So I think there's going to be a lot of political pressure for it to move over to the 599, and that to us that's a detriment to us. We need it to stay on this side, going through the Lac Seul forest and going up the way it's originally planned, and the way Watay Power wants to build it. And I think in your short-term short-term comments you had on there, we need to have on there that that's what happens, and that there will be or should be a substation. and we're talking about $100 million for natural gas, probably a substation is gonna be somewhere in that range.
Yeah, depending on how much power you're looking at, 1 to 2.
Gives us two things. It gives us a loop,
Exactly.
and we don't have that. We're at the end of the line now, and to me, that's very, very detrimental to any industry coming here and any growth, really. So I think that should be put on your short-term list.
And for your information, the mayor and the CAO's office and myself did do an appeal to regarding the 5 for location. And there is a lot of issues with the 5 for because they have to go through 3 reserves. And to do that consultation would take 20 years. And we are also watching very closely that the site is more closer to 5 kilometers than 10 kilometers. And so in that being said, it's closer than the Hydro One location. I highly recommend that we are lobbying immediately to Wate to help them show for their EA process that they can power a municipality such as Silicon that serves 33 First Nation communities. And that would be a check mark, a very big check mark for their process.
Yep.
So I would encourage council to take that direction.
So do you have that resolution written?
Councillor Southall?
I was coming down the same pipe as Councillor Bath. We were, there's so much potential. I mean, going down 599, there's nothing there. Here, I was just told about 3 days ago, Tamaka is going to be a mine. I mean, pardon? Or gold mine, whatever it was. Anyhow, it's going to be a mine. They're going to have power. We need power here. It's logical to come by here and pick us up. And I don't know how we go about making that happen, but we need to be working on that.
It takes lobbying efforts.
Okay.
And the council needs to put a budget towards doing that. I do a lot of that in other projects when I'm in the community. And I'm got a good relationship with Wate. We do try and stay in touch with them. And with the mines, they have an office right in my office. So, yes, you're right. But that takes, and we do to the energy minister this, constant too. So, but yes, in moving forward, like I say, we can't just talk about it, it's serious. If we need commercial industrial base, tax base, we need to invest
Do we know?
Lobby for energy prices.
and well, it's
Sure.
all lobbying at the beginning.
Exactly.
Do we not have a majority of the First Nations communities on board with this route?
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. There's only 3 that aren't.
I know.
And they're very small. But the point of the matter is they're going through the process. They're saying it's up this way. So we're staying happy about it. But if you're not in their face, it can change. So I want to sell it as a check mark on their OE.
Councillor Forbes?
So, just a couple of questions. We talk about $100 million for a natural gas pipeline.
Yes.
It has long been a burr under my saddle that we don't have a second line running into this community, like a loop.
Right.
So I guess the first question would be, has there been a costing on how much it would cost to run a second line in here, so we don't have to shut the power off every fall when they do work on the line? And if we did that, the second question would be, I would assume that would increase our capacity a little bit if we did that.
If you tapped into Wate, then you would definitely have the second line, right?
Right, but we've never had a loop.
Yeah,
Right.
be careful with tapping into Wate. They're not a distributor. They're a transmission builder.
Yeah, no, I was just talking about a second line, existing line through
No,
Hydro
but
One.
what I'm trying to say to you is, we own a utility, and distribution could be an opportunity.
230 volt, but I think it's up into the millions now. Yeah. Yeah.
So the question I'd like, it doesn't have to be by the penny, but the question I'd like answered, do we have any idea like what a per kilometer cost would be to run a second line into the community? I don't want to bring up Wate into it.
Right.
But Ontario Hydro runs the line in here.
Right.
So a second line in here, what would, ballpark that for me? Because we're looking at $100 million for natural gas. I think there should be a number on the second line running in here too.
And that's something we can get. I could give you a number on a lower voltage. I don't have a number 115 right now, but,
My concern is that Sioux Hydro has put their 5-year plan into DI.
OEB, yeah.
Yeah, and no upgrades to any of our electrical systems are included, none.
We need to speak to Sioux Hydro. Yeah, the $100 million is, that's a ballpark number, and it's fine, 100 million, 90, 120.
3 desktops.
Yeah,
whatever,
yeah,
grid
yeah.
plus.
That's my, that doesn't include separate from that is the in-town distribution system, and then separate from that is the people who have to convert from electrical, install ductwork, install furnaces, or the simple conversion would be propane, I suppose, the most simple if they had propane heat. But there's a huge cost to the individual. It's not just as if $100 million gets everybody natural gas. Then if I have an electrically heated home with no ductwork and no furnace, I probably have to spend $20,000 to get it ducted and have the furnace and bring the service in. Yeah. Yeah. So, sorry, Councillor Fenlon, you had a question?
With the upgrade that's going into Dryden, what are they gonna do with all the excess power if they get it? Because they're doing a major upgrade at their substation, are they not?
Yes, and I believe that's being planned for tying into Wate Power. I'm not 100% sure. I was just reading on the ISO that they're doing it for the end of 2018.
Wouldn't it be affordable to upgrade the line, the main line going from Dryden to the base station in Salmon?
Yes, but again, I guess one of the things is you sort of got to identify what you need and what you're thinking on. And those upgrades, it's probably $1 million for basically your stations. And then the line upgrades is probably $1 to $2 million, right? So it depends on how much you want to spend and what your plans and what your needs are, right? And that's what it comes down to. As we said, we deal with a lot of large industrial customers, and they're typically direct connected, right? Because they're getting 4 to 8 cents a kilowatt hour because they're direct connected to Ontario Hydro, right? So if someone's coming in, and typically Weyerhaeuser, they use about 8 megawatts in Kenora. So if you got something that's worth 5 megawatts, it would make sense for them, if they're planning to be around long term, to direct connect to Ontario Hydro and run their own lines back to the TS stations, right? So I guess the question is, how much are you going to want? And you got to decide amongst yourselves, because there's a fair cost to upgrade this stuff, because we think we need it, right? My father-in-law always asked, what do you need, not what do you want, right? So you're going to have to decide that as a community, and what you want to put out there.
Yeah, and coming from Dryden to Sand Lake is still a bottleneck.
For sure.
You still gotta fix that.
There's
And
still
we
loop.
just did a whole, your community has gone through an exercise over the last 10 years to determine that you're gonna put commercial industrial east of the airport. So, I mean, then you have to upgrade all the way out to there, and then beyond there. So what we were trying to do to reduce the cost of that is to tie in and partner with the Wate process or the hydro process. Hydro has been brought in to talk to Sioux Hydro. You were present
talking a 4 to 5 year process for natural gas, as a union gas. And they're looking at $35 million for a 22-kilometer pipeline. You know, so those are the things, right? So I guess it comes down to, as a community, what direction do you want to go? And knowing that any industry that comes into place, by the time you get all the permitting in place, it takes a couple of years, so you got some time. But if you think about it, at least you've got a plan to start that.
You have to move quickly. So you all know, though, as this knowledge was being verified, Jody and I were out aggressively seeking partners in biomass, CNG, LNG, power, but on a very limited scale. We were doing it as other projects presented them. We were doing that work. The mayor has been working very aggressively at AMO and OGRA and Roma, wherever he goes. We have had the opportunity, I think, every time almost with the Ministry of Energy, Minister of Energy. They funded this project for us specifically so that we could come back and tell them the real piece.
So we've been, in part, we've been advocating for natural gas, which now we've been advocating for that, knowing that the answer is no, because I don't see the $100 million ever working in any plan. But using that as a lever, we don't have natural gas, so help us with this other one. It's not going to cost you nearly as much, and it doesn't cost, again, going back to if we got natural gas, it would still cost the people living in Sioux Lookout privately money. The electricity, everybody's got electricity to their homes. This is a simple solution. So I think we should be looking at directing, as I think Councillors Beth and Southall have already said, and the Economic Development Manager has said, we should be directing staff to prepare the basic details of what we want to advocate for, and it would definitely involve the Watay power line in the east side of town, and then the sub idea is that we own a distribution company. Could we do something to tie into Watay to be a distribution company for them?
Yeah, we're talking to First Nation partners on that. They've come to us.
Yeah. So
They approached us.
Watay is a transmission company. They don't do distribution. We have distribution expertise and whatever. So there's a possible tie-in. So just one of the smart councillors has a go ahead.
By upgrading Sam Lake, we're still not creating a loop. We have to go with Watay, and that way we get.
And that's what the Dry Nick one's
Yeah.
doing, and that's not just for the situation there, it's a Gold Fork
Right.
situation as well, because they don't have a, what's it called, so if they stop their brownouts on a power,
Right.
hydro. And so it's been in the works for a very long time.
Oh, probably since 2010, right?
Yeah, and it was advocated by NOMA. They have a subcommittee of NOMA.
Councillor Beth?
So I'm just concerned when you say we don't have to hurry, we have lots of time. We don't have lots of time. And so let me finish first. The fact is that the EAs are out now, they're fighting over which line they're going to do. If the fight goes the wrong way, we've lost. We're screwed. We need it to go on the line they want to go through the Lac Sioux Forest, the westerly line. We need to be advocating for that now. And I don't believe we have lots of time, permitting or not. Yes, we know it's going to take a lot of time after the fact. But in the meantime, we have to stop the line from going up 599. That has to be the only goal we have to look at is we have to stop it from going that way. And we're going to get a little bit of static from folks, but I think we need to be prepared for that, and that's what we need to be pushing for as a municipality.
And I think what we need is a technically and financially informed briefing note, 3 to 4 pages that we can take to the ministers, and we can send and then advocate for at the conferences. We need something that's boiled down to that kind of a level, because and we need the technical input into it and the financial input into it, and get it down to that kind of a statement.
We have an electrical engineer that used to work for Manitoba Hydro. We can have him quickly look at that and give us some.
Excuse me.
We also, Jody and I had met with a company as well that had some real good expertise in this area. It was a Watay meeting.
So maybe we'll just carry on. Let's.
They have some expertise that we could
So does council agree with that direction?
And I don't want to take too much time, I just quickly threw up some pricing comparisons per kilowatt. You know, it's just like when you get into biomass, you're getting into either straight wood at $100 a cord, it gets pretty cheap, or industrial pellets, you know. Getting competitive with natural gas, so that's the other direction to go.
Biopower is partnering with us on the drug space. In fact, Biopower called me, the president, and there is a pilot going on with Morgan Fuels right now. So they were testing out some of this pellet work.
I just threw some slides up there with the price of natural gas. They're looking like they're gonna be somewhat stable in the next little while. So typically, if natural gas is stable, the rest of the energy is stable. So any more questions? And this, to us, makes the most sense, is going after electricity, but work on trying to get the pricing down. Because it is generating this area for 3 cents a kilowatt hour, right?
We have advocated for that, using the natural gas, so we've already said that, but some more technical information and financial information would be beneficial on that too.
Great. Any more questions? We'll let you get on with your meeting.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
All right, council, we'll move on to item, what's listed as 8.1, Jamie Robinson, planning consultant. No, actually, Mr. Clerk, should I be opening item 7.1 on the items requiring separate discussion? No, we'll do that. Okay. We'll do the delegation. So the planning department and Jamie Robinson, the table is yours. You realized that when we were talking. You did it. Yeah, you did. You realized it. Yeah. Because I was going through it and get it, and you said, "Oh, I see." You're smarter than you think. Thank you. Yep, go ahead.
Thank you, Your Worship, members of council, and members of the public. For those of you, I think most people know me now, but my name is Jamie Robinson. I'm a partner with NHPC Planning, and we've been working with the municipality for the last couple of years now on an official plan update and a zoning bylaw update. And we've done a number of public consultation components to this, both of these documents. We held public open houses in April of 2017 and in June of 2018. And then I was back here in July for a public meeting on both of these documents as well. With the various drafts that were completed of each of the official plan and zoning bylaw, we prepared some comment summary tables where we summarized all of the various comments that were provided and then provided responses to those comments as well. In terms of attendance at those open house meetings, they were fairly well attended, both of them. I'm not sure exact numbers, but I think we had around 30 people or so out to each of those meetings. The public meeting was here at council chambers, and I don't believe there's anyone that spoke at the public meeting with respect to either document. So I tend to look at that as a good sign that people got the responses that they wanted through the open house meetings and through their comments. So what we've got for you today are, what I'm going to do is provide just a brief overview of some of the key modifications that have been made throughout the process. And then what's being asked of council today is to consider both of the documents, adoption of the official plan and enactment of the zoning bylaw. And I'll get into what that means and what the next steps are at the conclusion. So just first, with the official plan, we had an opportunity to consult with the various ministries and then also to consider comments from staff, from you as council, and from various members of the public. And we have updated the document to reflect those comments. In terms of what the objectives of the update, what we tried to achieve with that was that there's been a number of provincial policies that have been updated since the current official plan came into effect. And there's also mandated under the Planning Act, there's a timing period for review of official plans. What we also tried to do is create a document that was a little bit more user-friendly and a document that focused as much as possible on economic development and providing opportunities that encourage investment in the community. The official plan, what it is, it's really a snapshot of what you want your community to look like in the future. The zoning bylaw is the document that recognizes what's on the land today and where it exists. So again, just some of the key things are we wanted to include as much flexibility as possible. We wanted to include policies that did promote economic development, while recognizing all of the important lifestyle aspects of the community and those natural heritage features that are so valuable in this area. So just in terms of some of the key theme areas that we touched on, the first is growth management, and that's what this slide is all about. We undertook a growth management exercise at the outset of the project to identify and answer the question really, is there enough land in the settlement area of Sioux Lookout to accommodate future population growth and future projected employment growth? So what that study identified is that there was an additional demand for up to 20 hectares of land. The study really identified that there was a demand for less land than that, but we were able to convince the ministry that we did need to provide some flexibility and that 20 hectares was an appropriate number. Keep that number of 20 hectares in mind. I'm going to show you a slide in a few minutes about some recent comments and potential opportunities to expand that number. So what we're really looking at, what we've also considered through this draft, and based on the comments that were provided from council and the recent lack of housing and new employment opportunities in the municipality and the demand for housing that's generated as a result of those, is that we think that council might want to consider designating additional land for residential purposes. The growth management study doesn't necessarily provide the justification for that, but we think it's something council should consider, should potentially provide to the ministry and essentially see if it holds water at the ministry, that additional land designation. And I'll detail what that is in a moment. Another comment we heard was the importance of Cedar Bay and the Crown Land designation in and around Cedar Bay, that area provides an important recreational area for the residents of the municipality, and that it should be recognized in the plan as such. And so what there is in the plan is there's some also called a motherhood type policies that recognize the importance of that Crown land for the recreational amenity for the municipality. What that does is that if that land is ever considered surplus by the Crown, we've got some policies in play that recognize that we'd like to see it, the municipality would like to see it to continue to be used for recreational purposes. Just some of the key modifications from the current plan that's in effect right now. We've added additional lands to urban Sioux Lookout. We've added additional employment lands to urban Sioux Lookout, and I've got a map that shows those in a second. Drayton has been removed as a settlement area. It's still considered a rural area. There's still limited lot creation permitted there, as there has been in the past. But it really recognizes the type of land uses that exist there currently. We've added definitions for affordable housing. We've slightly reduced the intensification targets, and that's in concert with the identifying additional demand for new areas for additional residential And we've also added some secondary dwelling unit policies. What secondary dwelling units are is there's recently been legislation enacted by the province that requires municipalities to add second units.
On the previous slide, in the Breeden settlement area, is there any provision for where sewer and water, municipal sewer and water would?
Through your worship, in terms of the Drayton settlement area, no, there's currently no servicing in that area now.
There, well, there is, I believe if, the planner could help me, or CBO, there is sewer and water that runs south from Best Western Hotel to service Autumnwood subdivision, and it's available along Highway 72, and it goes to the MNR fire base, both sewer and water. Yeah, yeah. CBO, yeah. Oh, it's no longer the Drayton settlement, okay.
That's correct, yeah.
Are we using the term Drayton settlement area, or did I read that that's?
Drayton area is the terminology that we're proposing to use going forward.
Okay.
Essentially, from the reason for not calling it a settlement area anymore, and this has been since the first draft of the document, is that because the area is so expansive, if it continues to be a settlement area, there's no justification for expanding the Sioux Lookout urban settlement area because of the land supply that exists in Drayton. But given the fact that there's no servicing there, given the fact of the existing lot fabric, there's not really significant development potential or quote-unquote urban development potential in that area. So by calling it the Drayton area, we're really calling a spade a spade. We're recognizing the uses and the development that exists there now as rural residential development. That's what it is. So by removing the settlement area designation from there, it basically frees up us the ability to designate additional land adjacent to the settlement area. So just in terms of following the public meeting, so after we had the public meeting, there's been a few modifications made to the documents, and I just wanted to elaborate on those so council is well aware of what those are. We've provided some specific policy framework to the residential designation and the expansion of those lands, and I'll get to that in more detail in a second. We've provided the option, as I mentioned, for designating additional lands for residential growth. We've updated the housing targets from the growth management study based on updated information that's been provided about demand being created as a result of the new employment jobs that are forecasted for the municipality. We've proposed that pits and quarries only require a zoning bylaw amendment, where previously they required a zoning bylaw amendment and an official plan amendment. The justification for that is that a similar public process is required whether you're doing an official plan amendment or a zoning bylaw amendment. It's the same public commenting requirements. What it does do is it leaves the approval authority for a zoning bylaw amendment is with the municipality as well. We've added some more permissive policies for accessory residential units in commercial designations. So we've made it more flexible and added some additional policies that allow for the residential units above commercial development or behind commercial buildings as well. And those have been made slightly more permissive than what they were in the previous document. And we're proposing to increase the number of lots that are permitted by way of consent in both the rural area and in both the settlement areas by one. I think it was historically 3 lots by consent, 2 lots by consent in the rural area, and increase it to 3 lots by consent in the urban area, and increasing it to 4. And we'll see what the ministry is. through your worship, yes, if that was in the urban area, that's what the policy is drafted would enable to do. So, this next policy is a new addition that we've added, and this is to provide additional guidance for the designated land that's provided. And maybe I'll just flip to this slide first, and come back to it. What that policy intends to do is apply to the area that's shown in red and potentially in blue on the next slide, but in this slide in red on the right-hand side. And what that is that's the additional expansion area that's proposed to expand the settlement area boundary in this new official plan. The figure on the left identifies the current limits of the settlement area boundary. And you can see, if you compare the version on the left to the version on the right, that area has been expanded to the north. So an additional 20 hectares have been proposed, and that's in line with the growth management study. What the policy does that's been added is the policy says that the zoning bylaw should zone that area in a future development zone. And so what it does is it doesn't establish a specific zoning for that area. It says it's zone future development, and that there needs to be a plan prepared to identify what specific zones should occur where. So essentially, we don't know what a road layout would be for that area. So until we have a road layout, until we know, have a lot pattern figured out, it's premature to add zoning to that area. So this policy provides the basis for establishing a future development plan for that area, and then the zoning would follow. But we felt it was premature to add an R1 zone or a multi-residential zone at this point in time until a road pattern and that additional work was done. So this is an enabling policy that sets some direction going forward on those lands.
Councillor Timpson and then Councillor Southwell.
Through your worship, that's part of the Hawks property. So this expanded settlement area that's shown in red is what was provided to council at the public meeting and in the previous drafts. We've heard that there's an additional need for housing because of the various employment uses that are coming to town. We've seen a really large shift in the last couple of years in the demand for multi-unit versus low-density housing. And with that, staff have identified that it might be appropriate to designate additional land to provide potentially more options going forward. So that's what this slide identifies, is it identifies what was proposed or what has been proposed in previous drafts in red versus a potential expansion area of about an additional 45 hectares to the north. As I mentioned, the growth management study doesn't really provide the justification for that land. And the justification and the growth management study was really based on historic rates, but given of development, but what we've seen based on what we anticipate in terms of future employment and that need for housing, we think it would be appropriate to provide some additional flexibility for that area. So this is the one item that's new for council that staff would like some direction on, and we've prepared two versions of the map for council to consider if they adopt the plan tonight on adopting it with option 1 or option 2. I'm not making any recommendation, but it would seem to make sense to recommend option 2 and see if it holds weight with the municipality, with the ministry, and provides the most flexibility.
Just to be clear, option 2, does that include the area identified in option 1?
Yes.
Yeah, okay. So option 2 is option 1 plus that
That's
additional
correct.
25 hectares to the north.
And option 1 is privately held, option 2 is crown land? No?
So, yeah, Hogg says, I believe about 420 acres, which would be about whatever, just under 200 hectares. Eh? And so it's
So, and Mr. Hogg has approached the municipality about having an interest in developing there. So the idea is if we go with option 2, it does provide more flexibility, more opportunity, and it would seem appropriate for the municipality to put that forward and see if it holds weight.
Partnership with somebody, or would that be municipality filing that plan?
Through Through your worship, so in terms of, from a land use planning perspective, our official plan would set the basis. It identifies where the limits of the settlement area boundary are, which are effectively where growth is intended to be focused. So going forward, there's really two options. If the municipality wanted to go ahead and undertake a development plan for that area and identify specifically and pre-designate or pre-zone land for multi-unit residential or low-density residential or another land use, they could do that. Alternatively, the municipality can sit back and say, we put this land in the settlement area, developer, you come forward with a proposal on how that land would be developed. But that's sort of another consideration for council following this is, do you want to be proactive and be directive in terms of where you want different land uses to occur, or do you want to, and that's what this future development zone provides, is it provides that flexibility. And that's what this policy provides.
Councillor Forbes and then Councillor Beth.
So option 2 seems to be the smart way to go. Do you expect pushback from the ministry if we do that? Is that, like, why would they care, I guess is my point.
To your worship, that's a good question, and it's one Jody asked me as well, was that why does the ministry care how much land is designated? And the the ministry does not like official plans, and the PPS actually prescribes that you're not to designate more land beyond the planning horizon or the 20-year planning horizon. However, those policies are really focused around in my view, are focused around high growth, although they apply everywhere, high growth areas. And it's to ensure that municipalities don't overextend themselves in terms of servicing. It's to ensure that development proceeds in an orderly manner, that it's not skipping areas. But in lower growth areas or smaller communities, having some variety and some options, especially where there might be some constraints to development from a topographical or environmental perspective, it seems to make sense to provide some options for development. So those are the kind of arguments that we would put forward to the ministry on why it's appropriate to have these additional lands. But the short answer, I know that's a long one, the short one is that they like the supply to match the demand. They don't want it to be overreaching.
I'll try to get a short answer out of you. Within the municipality, there's still crown land within urban Sioux Lookout, which is ridiculous. And including, and some of them show on your map there, just below Schedule A, that would be west of the Sacred Heart School. There's a big area in there that we were looking at one time of maybe acquiring. That's obviously, that's crown land. And it's within the urban community. Somehow we need to put that in our expansion options to get the crown the hell out of our community. So it should be municipal property, not crown property anywhere within our urban area. We need to be pushing that a little harder. I don't know if we can do that through the official plan, but it needs to be done because there's lots that we can develop, and there's a pretty large area of land there on the west side of town that is developable, and we need to have that option without having to jump through all the hoops later. Yeah. So is there?
If I may, your worship, the option for your comments, I hear your comments. It's not really part of this official process per se, but if that's some direction that council would like staff to explore and look into for the ministry, then by all means you can provide that direction. I don't know if staff actually need a resolution or a motion to do that, or if it's just something they can explore on their own, but I'll let you speak with the CAO about that.
And the general direction would be to remove the crown designation, have the land turn over to the municipality, and as much as possible within the municipal boundary, right? Unless, I guess we need to be careful. Are there some areas where that would hurt us? Is there anything, I think in terms of forest fires or?
Well, I think certainly the lands that are not within the urban core, yes, we certainly don't want to give up, be asking for stuff we can't control. But these are right in our urban core. They're they're designated as lots on the maps. And there's just no reason for the Crown to still be holding on to those.
Through your worship, I think the direction would be to specifically deal with lands in the settlement
Yeah.
boundary,
Yeah.
purposely
Yeah,
located on
exactly.
the side of the settlement.
Whether it's, just be careful, we're asking for some of that land west of Sacred Heart to be designated as for Cedar Bay as the recreational land, right, and protected in this official plan.
Well, I don't know, beyond that,
But not all of it, but there is that, we don't want, we're not trying to cross swords with what,
No.
conflict with what we're saying.
It's more that land that they were looking at for the new high school.
Mhm. Yeah. So if it's designated, I think you defined it.
you know, that would make great lots. I mean, they're,
Okay, moving on. So the next part I just wanted to elaborate on was that the expansion of employment lands within Urban Sioux Lookout, and this is sort of a proactive step to identify additional lands, and we've called it a special policy area to be added for a future transload facility. So the idea is these lands are earmarked for a transload facility. Specific policies about uses and everything haven't been included, but when those are known and when it gets further down the line in terms of planning for that site or that area, specific policies can be developed, but this is the first step of the process to see it move forward. So that's a bit of a summary of the official plan, and at the end I'm going to just talk about next steps and where we go and what we're seeking from you tonight on both the official plan and the zoning bylaw. So just in terms of the zoning bylaw, I touched on it briefly at the outset, but the zoning bylaw is a document that implements the official plan. It's the law of the land. It's the document that identifies what existing uses are. Typically, there are some scenarios where land gets pre-designated for future uses, but it's fairly rare. It recognizes essentially what's there currently. What it does establishes permitted uses. It establishes setbacks from the water, setbacks from a lot line, setbacks from a road. And it's the document that your building official and your planning department use on a daily basis if a building permit's being sought. It's what's called applicable law that gets considered prior to the issuance of a building permit. So what the objective of the zoning bylaw exercise was to consolidate the exception zones. The bylaws, there's a number of exception zones. It was to consolidate those. It was to provide some clarity and revise the general provisions to make them a bit easier to use. It was to provide some more opportunities and more permissions for affordable housing, some as-of-right permissions for that. And we addressed the need for student housing. Sioux Lookout is in the unique position of offering some housing styles and housing opportunities that you don't see in other places. So we've had to develop some new definitions and terms to recognize how those housing options go forward.
Councillor Timpson? Yep.
A question on that. There are three types of housing. There's your boarding house or alternate housing, boarding house, billet house, and group homes and crisis homes. Group homes are allowed 10 residents, billets 6, and boarding houses 4. Why did they decrease the numbers of boarding houses and billets? Boarding houses used to be 10, so why are they now 4?
I don't know. I'd have to look back at that. I think that was done in the previous draft, and I'm going to have to look back at my notes to confirm that.
And the issue with group homes can be anywhere in the municipality, and I don't know that was. I'm not sure that's a great idea.
Through your worship, that's something that comments have come back that historically zoning bylaws used to restrict where group homes could be located, and you used to have minimum separation distances between group homes and zoning bylaws. That's something that the law has told us that you're not permitted to do, that you can't discriminate with respect to where these group homes can be located. And that sort of zoning historically was determined to be discriminatory. So that's why that portion has been removed from the bylaw, and they are
But they haven't even defined what a group home is, and the definition is very unclear. It's not that clear. In my view, a group home is it's a sort of a semi-treatment facility, and yeah, it's in the definition. It's not that clear how it would differ from a boarding house and a billet house. Billet house being that you would have a proprietor there. Billet house is allowed 6 people. Boarding house allowed 4 people with a proprietor. Crisis and group homes, they're a very specialized kind of residential unit, and I'm a bit concerned that they're not, it's not clear.
I wasn't aware of the concerns leading up to this meeting, so I wasn't able to prepare a
Sure.
clear instruction on the difference between those 3 types. If council would like me to prepare a memo that details the difference between a group home, boarding house, billet house, I can do that. The document right now is sort of being put to council for approval. If you want to delay it to address that issue, we can, or we can consider approving it tonight with coming back to look at that issue in the future. But this is new comments. So.
All right, Councillor Bath has a question. We'll get back to you on once we see what the sum of the comments are.
The boarding house one, that was my idea, actually. It was 10 before, and I disagreed with that completely. You have a motel. We treat that differently. These are boarding houses, and that's what it should be, is a boarding house. So 4, what I felt, and council agreed. That was the last public meeting. Whatever date that was. July 18th we did that. And I don't see a difference, a problem with the definitions. So billet house is very clearly described as for students, operate within the school year. A boarding house is a boarding house with 4 people boarding in it, and a group home was quite clear. So I don't understand why I certainly wouldn't want to hold up the passing this just to change the descriptions.
Councillor Southwell?
I mean, my only question is, who enforces this? I'll just use an example. 2 mornings ago, 13 students come out of one house. What does that fall under? And who enforces that?
Through your worship, there's, I think, 2 issues at play. One would deal with whether or not, we can apply this globally to any use, whether or not the existing use, whether the use that's at a location right now is legal and has been in existence prior to the passing of the zoning bylaw. That's what's referred to as a non-conforming use, and it gets a grandfathering status. So you can't do anything with the use that was legally established if the provisions of the bylaw change. So that's item 1. Second, dealing with enforcement. Enforcement of any provision in a zoning bylaw is a complaint-based process. It takes a neighbor to complain, or it takes a bylaw enforcement officer to notice an infraction, and then enforcement can take effect. With any zoning enforcement matter, in municipalities generally, and well, not generally, always try to achieve compliance prior to seeking any higher levels of enforcement with respect to that. But enforcement is a complaint-based process.
Councillor Timpson?
So, with a group home, you would need a special license, I would presume, and it would be staffed, not by the proprietor, as the term is used here. Is that correct?
Your worship, I can look at all the definitions here and try to provide you with the information, or I can come back with a detailed report on the difference between the three uses, but I can't really speak to the specifics related to that.
I think it's important because a group home is basic. In many ways, it's a treatment facility, and you can't put a treatment facility just anywhere, and you have to have specialized staff for treatment. So, whereas boarding houses and billets are not. I think it's important that we sort that out. And I think also, too, we need to be working closely with the tribal council, education authorities, for them to ensure that these numbers are respected. If this is the case that's happening where you were talking about, Councillor Southall.
Move on for now, and then we'll circle back to this.
Another key theme area of the zoning bylaw is secondary dwelling units and some additional regulations that have been provided for those. So specifically, secondary units have been permitted as of right in all residential zones. They've been permitted in dwellings and accessory buildings. So one of the modifications that was made following the last piece of public consultation was that secondary dwelling units were added as a permitted use in shoreline properties as well, but not where there's a sleeping cabin. A subsequent slide speaks to that. So the Planning Act was modified recently, and it requires municipalities to allow for secondary dwelling units in residences, and as well to allow for them in accessory buildings. The intent of those policies and those is to ensure that, or to help address affordable housing. Secondary units are seen as a key way to intensify and to add additional affordable housing units to a community. So those are regulations that have been added to the zoning bylaw to help address some of the housing shortage in Sioux Lookout and provide additional opportunity. Aligned with that theme is providing for flexible zoning within in residential areas. The current zoning bylaw does allow for quadruplexes in the R2 zone. That zoning's been carried forward. So the current zoning is quite flexible in terms of the amount of units that are permitted on an R2 property, for example. An R2 zone occupies a significant amount of the municipality. What else? So what that means is that if there is a requirement for a zoning bylaw amendment, if the number of units that's being proposed would exceed the requirements of the zoning bylaw. So that's intended that as intensity of use increases on a site, or density increases on a site, and an amendment's required, that triggers public consultation and allows for input from the neighboring property owners. So just in terms of the modifications that were made prior to the public meeting, we included definitions for student housing. We added a number of other definitions. We included provisions for food trucks. We included provisions for secondary dwelling units, as we've reviewed, and we've included provisions for boathouses. Those were all added prior to the public meeting. Following the public meeting, we've added that future development zone that I spoke about previously when we were dealing with the official plan. That applies to those red and blue areas that we saw on the previous map. We've permitted the current, one thing the planning department and building department have run across is a number of there's been a number of variances required for detached garages on rural residential lots. So we've increased the size of detached garages that are permitted on rural residential lots. We've added regulations for gazebos and saunas on shoreline properties. We've added, we permit accessory dwelling units again behind and above commercial units. That's to implement the official plan policies I spoke about previously. And then we've added secondary dwelling units, as I mentioned, on shoreline lots where there's no guest cabin. So just in terms of next steps, sorry, they're missing a sentence there, but under number 1. So next step is we recommend that council adopt the official plan, and what would happen is the plan would be forwarded to the ministry for approval. So what that means is the council isn't the approval authority for the official plan. They adopt it, we prepare a package that gets sent off to the ministry for approval. So as far as appeal rights with respect to the official plan, the decision of council on the official plan isn't something that can be appealed. It's the decision of the ministry, and when they actually do approve it finally, that gets appealed. But what we would do is send out a notice that the municipality would send out a notice that identifies that the official plan was adopted, and would direct anybody to municipal affairs that if they want to receive a decision related to the official plan. In terms of timing, how long does that process take at the province? I spoke with the planner at the ministry, and the timing requirements under the legislation is they have 210 days from the time they get provided with the complete package to make a decision. We have been in discussions, and the ministry has reviewed the various drafts of the document. So I would hope it could be done faster than that, and they sort of alluded to that fact, but they didn't want to make any commitments outside of the 210-day timing requirements. So that's where we sit with respect to adoption of the official plan. Zoning bylaw. The zoning bylaw is a document that council does have the approval authority for. The idea is that we thought it was important to have the zoning bylaw in effect in advance of the upcoming building seasons, so that anybody undertaking plans for their buildings would comply with the new bylaw. How the approval process for that works is if council decides to enact the bylaw tonight, notice will be provided. Notice under the legislation is only required now to those that asked for notice of the decision. I think it would be pertinent that anyone that provided comments, that we send them a copy of the notice, and that we also the legislative requirements have changed for that. So it is important that people request notice now on any zoning bylaw. So municipality has 15 days to get out a notice of decision, and then the appeal period starts whenever that notice of decision is provided. And any member of the public has the opportunity, or any landowner, to appeal that decision. Same, sorry.
20-day appeal period, or do they have longer than that?
So it's 15, the appeal period starts the day the notice goes out. So in theory, if it takes 15 days to get the notice out, it's 20 days from that date. If we get the notice out in 2 days, it's 20 days from that date. And I guess the other point I wanted to make on the official plan is that if anything comes up, any new things happen, or any modifications that we identify should be made to the official plan, and council identifies any concerns while it's sitting at the ministry for these 210 days, by resolution, the municipality could make a request to have modifications completed or added to that plan as part of that approval process. So, and then the third item on here is, and the clerk mentioned this at the outset of the meeting tonight, was that as part of the resolution that's being proposed, the resolution would also ask that amendments be permitted to both documents within a 2-year period. Why that's new is that the changes to the Planning Act that were brought about last year, they essentially put a moratorium that they say, unless council passes a resolution to allow for amendments, you're not allowed to make an amendment to an official plan or a zoning bylaw within 2 years from its adoption or enactment. Where that really comes from is Southern Ontario and Toronto. The idea is that when these detailed plans for secondary plans and major developments are completed, they didn't want to see amendments right after. But every municipality that we've completed one of these for wants to opens amendments, because these documents are evolving documents. They change with the time, and they allow for community change to occur. So that is part of the resolution that's put before you.
The official plan and the zoning bylaw amendment, the official plan is basically, we're dependent on the ministry for approval. We adopt it. The zoning bylaw amendment, we adopt, and we are it goes to the ministry as well? It does not. Period. The item 3, pass resolutions to enable amendments. So I'm thinking about Councillor Timpson's request for definition, further definition. Could that be an amendment to the zoning bylaw? Because that's in the zoning bylaw, not the official plan.
That's correct. The zoning, both documents are valid documents. If there's, I'll tell you right now, the document isn't gonna be perfect. In a year from now, or 2 years from now, or 6 months from now, you might have something new come to town that was not contemplated in the zoning bylaw, and there might have to be amendments made to deal with those issues. So certainly, at any time, a resident or a landowner can make an application. Council can also decide that they wanna make a modification or an amendment to the zoning bylaw.
Councillor Southall?
Basically, the question, I mean, we look at this in 6 months or a year or something and say, hey, we really messed up. Can we change it? You bet.
Definitely, through your worship. I will tell you that a year from now, there'll probably be a housekeeping amendment being undertaken to this document to fix any, because as these documents get used, as building permits get issued, you identify there might be a loophole, or there might be something that we want to tighten up, or there might be something we want to add more permission to. But that's common practice, and that's standard, and that should be expected.
Councillor Bath?
Yeah, I really want to commend you. You know, your group has been extremely easy to work with. You know, I was involved the very first time on council. I was involved with this all ago in 2015, 14, no, 2010, and it was quite difficult to get a handle of it. This time it was quite easy, and I think we did some really major good changes to the both plans. The one thing I noticed that's gone past several times is this is OP actually, so I'll talk about it. Section 11, page 159, under home industry, there's a spelling error.
That was to see if you were paying attention, Councillor.
The rest I have the comments on are about the ZBL, so I'm not too concerned about it. And there is a very good description of a group home on page 203 of the zoning bylaw.
I know that, but it doesn't talk about the need for a license for a group home or staff.
Supervised residential building.
There is a big difference. I think it's a very important thing given the environment we live in here and what we're serving.
So with that concern, can we, we've had, as Councillor Bath said, a good and a long process with lots of public and other consultation. Can we adopt it but immediately sort of get to defining this and do a zoning an amendment to the zoning bylaw to address if council agrees on some further definitions? Can we do that in short order?
Yeah, I think, Your Worship, we have a couple of options. One is not do anything now, explore that issue. Other options, enact the bylaw tonight. We've heard you. We can undertake a review of group home, billet house, boarding house, a little bit further, prepare a memo with options, and then you can decide and provide direction whether we actually need to change anything or not. We can provide a recommendation to that effect.
And at the same time as you're doing that, concurrent, Councillor Timpson or whoever on council could do their own research and get comments to you, just as we've had comments to you in the past. Is that
That would be
helpful?
by all means, that would be
Okay,
helpful.
yeah. Because we have had a long process, and there's been a lot of opportunity for input, and personally I think it's time to adopt them. And knowing that avenue is open, I think that would be my wondering where council wants to go. So, but any further comments or questions on the presentation? The actual bylaw is coming up in the next part of the agenda.
We've labored over this for years. Let's get it on the books here.
Further comments or questions, council? Any final comments or questions? You're good? Good, all right. Well, thank you very much. It's a good presentation, and I agree with Councillor Bath. It's been a good process, and we will get complaints later about things, but it's been an open and public process. It's been ongoing for, is it a year and a half or so with I think 2 years, yeah, with public meetings and the documents available to everybody. So thank you very much.
Well, one last word, I'd like to thank council and thank the municipality for the opportunity to assist and prepare these. It's been a great experience for us, and
Thank you. Thanks, staff. All right, so we'll move on to items requiring separate discussion. Consideration of items requiring separate discussion. And the first item is 7.1, adoption of official plan and zoning bylaw updated. The council, in accordance with Section 22 of the Planning Act, will permit applications for official plan amendments. And further, the council, in accordance with Section 34 of the Planning Act, will permit applications for zoning bylaw amendments. And that further, that council, in accordance with Section 45 of the Planning Act, will permit applications for minor variances. Is this the actual resolution to? Oh, in addition to, sorry, got you, thank you. And pre to that, those stand, and the council receives report number RP 2018-115 and attached appendices regarding the new official plan and zoning bylaw. And further, the council authorizes the passing of bylaw number 84-18, being a bylaw to adopt an official plan for the corporation of the municipality of Sioux Lookout, dated November 2018, in accordance with bylaw number 84-18. And the council authorizes the passing of bylaw number 85-18, being a comprehensive zoning bylaw for the corporation of the municipality of Sioux Lookout. I have a mover, including the first part. Councillor Southall, seconded by Councillor Fenlon. And we've had ample discussion, but I do open it for discussion. All in favor? Carried. Item 7.4, resolutions to be submitted for consideration at the 2019 Kenora District Municipal Association Annual Meeting. The council directs staff to submit resolutions as determined by council at the November 21st, 2018 regular council meeting for consideration at the 2019 KDMA Annual Meeting. May I have a mover, please? Councillor Fenlon, seconded by Councillor Timpson. Mr. Clerk, you required this to be lifted.
Yes, through you, Mayor Lawrence. If in reviewing the Appendix H, the report, there were 3 resolutions that outside resolutions, that council passed this year, which you may or may not wish to forward to KDMA for consideration, and they're listed in the report.
So they are in the report. Council comments. Do we wish to submit all? Do we wish to delete any? Councillor Timpson.
I would like to bring forward a possibility of adding one to the list from the Township of Montague. It's in front of you all. Requesting that the provincial government undertake consultation with municipalities prior to modifying legislation that affects municipal governments.
So this is the first opportunity. It was just distributed at the meeting tonight, right?
Yes.
We can add to this, Mr. Clerk. Is that, Clerk, the KDMA meeting is generally in January. I think it's scheduled for the end of January. And at that meeting, we can present the resolutions that we want carried forward to NOMA for KDMA's consideration.
Through you, Mayor Lawrence, the procedural requirements dictate that we have all resolutions we wish to submit from our municipality to KDMA no later than December 15th.
That's our procedural requirement?
That's KDMA's requirements.
Knowing the state of KDMA right now, I think that might be able to be extended into January. I know it might be, it's their procedural requirement, but I think we would be safe extend.
Certainly, through you, Mayor Lawrence, you know better than I do what the current situation is of KDMA. I will say that previously we did wait till December and then submitted them, and frankly, we were scolded for submitting them late. So.
I don't think that'll be the case. I'd like to see this brought to the first December regular council meeting. Is my feeling, Councillor Timpson. And I think there'll be adequate time. We all go to and the KDMA does take resolutions from the floor as well, right? So, I mean, as a last resort, we can put it out from. I'd like to look in. I'd like to see what AMO's stance on this is too. Councillor Timpson.
I guess I'm sort of puzzled by the position. It's a fairly straightforward. It's a fairly straightforward resolution. Basically, please consult us before you change the legislation. Basically, that's what they're saying. It's and that's always the way the government has operated in the past. They have consulted us, and I think it's a fairly straightforward resolution. It is based on the actions of the government back in July, but this is essentially saying just consult us, please, if you're going to modify any legislation.
Council, any comments, Council? Councillor Bath?
Yeah, I think we need to take very seriously what we put forward. You know, they are going to the government later, and I agree with Councillor Timpson that this is an important issue, but I'm not prepared to challenge the provincial government without going through it and reading it a little closer. I think I would be prepared to wait and review it again in December.
With regard to the ones that are on the list, the one on NAFTA, is that not now out of date, or?
Through you, Mayor Lawrence, yes, but again, our procedural requirements are that all outside resolutions that have been passed have to come to council for consideration.
No, but I'm saying we could delete that now, though, knowing that it's, yeah.
Although through you, Mayor Lawrence, if the general will of council is to decide on the Montague resolution in December, I would respectfully request that you just defer this entire report to December and make a decision at that time, so we're not dealing with it twice.
I like that, and also if anybody has any further resolutions they want to propose to council, get them in time for council to review ahead of time. So let's defer to the December regular. Is that fair, council? Mover and seconder, who are
Councillors Fenelon and Timpson.
Councillor Fenelon says yes. Councillor Timpson, can we defer this to the regular? Yep. Okay. Thank you. Item 7.5, budget timetable. The council approves the proposed 2019 budget timetable as presented by the treasurer in reports. And I'll have a mover, Councillor Timpson, seconder, Councillor Fenelon, and it was Councillor Bath who lifted this. So go ahead, Councillor.
Yeah, the only comment I have is on the timing. I don't like the fact that we've held off the ratification till February. We could quite easily pass this in January. On the January 30th meeting, if we accept the draft budget number 2, and the council accepted, if they accept it, there's no reason to have the ratification there. I think we should just leave that right out of there and put change ratification of and passing a budget to passing of budget if required, or whatever. Change the wording to it there.
Councillor Timpson, then Councillor Southall.
I think we have to take some lessons from the election in which accountability and transparency were the huge issues that the public was concerned about. I think it would be prudent for us to hold not to move so quickly, and to hold a public consultation, public input meeting even before draft 1. I think what the message we're giving to the public is that well, here we are going to do it, and we're going to tell you what we're going to do. And having a very probably perfunctory consultation January 9th, I think it would be far better. Maybe December 13th could be a public input session, and then draft one in January. I think we have to be just very cognizant of the fact that we are accountable to the public, and particularly this year, given the election dialogues. I'd also like to see a town hall approach to the budget, one of these consultation meetings.
I'm not sure who I said next after Councillor Timpson. Was Councillor Southall? Yeah.
Well, I'm just saying, we're all going to, I believe the 13th meeting is a public meeting.
It's a public council meeting.
The public is welcome to be there, get all the information. I don't think we need to discuss it because we're all going to just get it fresh. So if we all get the material at that time, then I think we can have a second meeting where the public can present. I agree with Councillor Bath that perhaps we can pass it at the January meeting, and let's leave February on there in case we need it. But I mean, if all goes well and everything is good, then let's pass it on in January and get on with the show. But leave it on there just in case we need it. And I don't know. I think if the public and council are all presented with the preliminary budget on the 13th, and then we have a couple of weeks to look at it and see, and the public has an opportunity in January to say how they feel about it and what they would like to see, then I think that's being pretty transparent.
Councillor Fallon?
Both comments, I guess, but we can't overlook the public. We got to be cognizant of them out there and what they're looking at through the budget when they get just like us, get to see it for the first time. And we can't carry it on, down to a second one and say we're going to pass it that night. We have to leave it open to see what the public is going to have to say about it first.
Further comments, Council?
Well, I thought that's what I said, actually.
I know.
So I agree. The public wants to be there. I don't want to be back in a situation where we're accused of ramming it through. That's not what happened. The budget passed. That was the end of it, and that's what should happen. The public had plenty of time to have input. The public didn't show up at the meetings. If they don't show up, then it's too bad. You need to come, or else don't complain later. So I think that in this case here we have 3 opportunities to come forward, and if on January 30th, if there's still a lot of dissension, then we move on to the February 20th. But we don't say we're going to go to February 20th and then be accused of ramming it through.
CIO?
If I just may make a comment, in discussing the schedule for the passing the budget meetings and the public meeting, as a staff, we did add the February 20th in there just in case, because we were having a real difficult time given the fact that there's so much training, extra meetings, inaugural meetings in December, things of that nature to schedule these meetings, that we thought that we would add that extra one just in case it was needed, so everybody was aware that that would be the date of our next budget meeting, whether it's ratified on January 30th or February 20th. So that was the rationale in our thinking for those dates.
Further comments, Council? Councillor Timpson?
Well, I really do think we need to be thinking about our citizen engagement pillar that we have in our strategic plan, and I think this budget is one that we really ought to be working very hard to bring the public into it. So I think we're going to be just making the same mistake as we've made in past years, where we haven't permitted as much consultation as necessary.
Further comments, Council? I'll call the vote then. All in favor? Carried. The bylaws. Following bylaws be introduced read a first, second, third time and considered for passing by council. Bylaw number 82-18, being a bylaw to authorize the write-off of municipal taxes and the vesting of properties in the municipality of Sioux-Lookout. Bylaw number 83-18, being a bylaw to authorize the write-off of municipal taxes and the vesting of property in the municipality of Sioux-Lookout. Bylaw number 84-18, being a bylaw to adopt an official plan for the corporation of the municipality of Sioux-Lookout. Bylaw number 85-18, being a comprehensive zoning bylaw for the corporation of the municipality of Sioux-Lookout. That bylaws numbers 82-18, 83-18, 84-18, 85-18 be read a first, second, and third time. Mover? Moved by Councillor Southall, seconded by Councillor Forbes. All in favor? All in favor? Carried. No notices of motion to reconsider. No outside resolutions. Members of council. Comments from members. Reports from members of council. Councillor Southall. Final regular council meeting of.
Pardon?
Final regular council meeting of this term.
Nothing, in case you hadn't noticed, the gateway sign has been raised 2 feet. And Matt is going to come back to us with 2 or 3 different plans of finishing off the bottom. He's busy working on the airport sign right now, so he said it probably won't happen until spring, but anyhow, it shouldn't be in the snowbank this winter. So.
Thank you. Councillor Timpson. Report on activities over the month or other? Yeah.
I attended the Environment Committee meeting, and we had finalized our report for the volunteers meeting day, whatever. Is that the 13th? No, the 11th? Yeah. Been fairly active with the Menayawan board. We had a 2-day strategic planning session in which we looked over some of it's called higher reliability assessment findings, in which a consultant had gone right through every aspect of the hospital, and we looked at goals in those areas for future. We're still waiting. The staff at the management is still waiting to hear from the Ministry of Health and Long-Term Care concerning our bids. They keep being asked to, or being told that there will be a meeting and there will be discussing this and so on, but it just isn't happening. So it's just a waiting game right now. I've attended 2 meetings of the poverty reduction strategy where we've hired 2 half-time, part-time people as outreach workers, and that's going along. I attended the daycare opening 2 days ago of the Sioux Mountain, and I helped out at the seniors, the fish fry for the seniors that the Jewel family puts on up at Sioux Towers. And I think that's about it.
Councillor Fenlon.
I went to the Finland presentation, which I think was very good for Simcoe. Lots of analysis made there on previous things coming. It's been further really had moving things forward into the new year.
Thank you. Councillor Forbes.
I think just a hydro board meeting and maybe a library board meeting I attended. I'm sure this is probably the same for all committees and boards and commissions, but hydro is going to be looking for board members. I think the chair has decided to re-up. I obviously won't be there as a council rep, but I'm strongly considering staying on the board as a community rep. And just like to say that it's been a great 6 years. Very much enjoyed working with all of you and all the dedicated staff that we've had, or that we continue to have, that work very hard for this municipality. And good luck with the next 4 years. I'm sure you guys will do a great job.
I thought you were going to say you'll need it.
No. Diplomatic. A little late, but I'm going to try it.
Thanks, Councillor Forbes. Councillor Bath.
Yeah, I also attended the biomass presentations, and I found them quite interesting. I mostly found the enthusiasm that these folks had for the municipality was amazing. And that's the second time I've seen that now. When the folks came from the Fox Cree Nation, they showed that, and these guys showed the same. You know, we hear quite often how bad we are and what we do that's not right. We never hear that from people outside of town. We only hear it from people inside of town, so that's good. Remembrance Day ceremonies, of course. We attended a daycare meeting. We didn't have a quorum, but we still discussed the new setup. I wasn't able to attend the grand opening of the new daycare. I was busy doing my other job, so that fell through. I attended a chamber meeting. Chamber's becoming quite active, I think. I think they're doing a good job. I think their executive, I'm not sure what she's called, executive assistant, I think. She does a fantastic job, and she's sort of holding it all together. I really like what she's doing. I attended LCC on Monday. Most of the discussions on LCC were around the FMPs, the Caribou and the Lac Seul. And again, like I say, the Watay Power thing came up. They're concerned about it and what it's doing to the moving the FMPs forward. I was the LCEC rep on the Forest Management Planning team, and I've withdrawn from that. I said I don't want to do that anymore. It's just too much work. I don't have the time. So the LCC is struggling now to find somebody to fill that space. If they don't, then there may not be an LCC rep on the FMP. That's probably not good, but whatever happens, it happens. There also will be a requirement for a member from council to sit on the new LCC. I am currently that person, and I haven't decided whether I'm going to ask to do that again or not, so that may come up from council also. And the gateway sign, it looks great, Cal. Good work.
We didn't need any extra concrete, eh?
No, a little bit of steel, that was all.
Thanks, Councillor Bath. We had our final Kenora District Services Board meeting, and the next one will be January. And about half the Board of 13 won't be returning, so a bit of a turnover there. Police Services Board meeting, and Bear Clan was discussed again, and we're inviting the Winnipeg organizer to come here to look at a Bear Clan and a youth Bear Clan. Attended council orientation. Thank you very much to staff for putting that on. It was worthwhile. With the economic development manager, I participated. I think the CIO was where you wanted a teleconference with one of the CN compressed natural gas provider who was exploring Sioux Lookout. Skip to Equip happened, and congratulations to them. They raised $75,000 for the foundation, the Manayawan Health Center. Attended the daycare opening, Remembrance Day ceremonies. Traveled to Thunder Bay last week with the economic development manager for meetings with various Sioux Lookout agencies, Windigo, Slifna, IFNA, Shabugama, and investors who came up from Toronto, and CMHC who came from Toronto, trying to make those connections and keep them. And there's lots of thunder rolling in the sky. We haven't had a lightning strike just quite yet, but hoping that's coming. The Finnish group attended the biomass and the Echo Village get-together. And then yesterday, I think it was, we had an Israeli group here, Israeli and New York City, who are in international aid. They're looking at water projects to our north, but they're also very interested and are hooked up with the Echo Village now as one of the groups that would be getting involved in that. Poverty reduction strategy today, and Councillor Timpson looks tired from that because it was quite a meeting. Good stuff being done by that strategy, though. And that's that. And we'll have our final closed session coming up. So we need a motion to move into closed session, and we'll also have a 5-minute recess. So a motion to move into closed session, Councillor Fanlin, seconded by Councillor Timpson, to move into closed session at 7:30 p.m. to discuss one subject matter relating to proposed or pending acquisition of or disposition of land by the municipality or local board per Municipal Act. One item, 2 items. First item, 9 Fifth Avenue, second item, and other properties of interest to the municipality. Councillor, oh, sorry. I don't think so. No, no. Well, I'm going to guess no. Mr. Clerk, is the answer?
Through you, Mayor Lawrence, that's a decision of council to make. Guests have previously been invited to closed session meetings. That is council's decision.
Oh, man. We have a motion on the floor. Oh,
I'll second that.
well, all right. Well, I would say all right, but they have no input. They can listen, but not participate. Is that if they wish to sit? They've been invited as listeners, but not speakers or participants. Yeah, and they haven't taken the oath of office yet, but if they're guests, then it's. If Mr. Clerk tells me it's permissible, I take that. So all in favor to move into closed session with two guests?
Right.
All in favor? Carried. We'll resume in 5 minutes.
Not too bad, thanks.